Hi, I'm Steffi Rollo and you're watching Radio Caley.
And you're performing at the Radio Caley Acoustic night tonight. Like, how are you feeling about it? Like, what's your thoughts on it right now?
A little bit nervous because I've not really done much gigs before and stuff,
Yeah.
but I'm sure I'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, kind of like, what kind of experience do you have before then with like your acoustic playing then? Like, whereabouts have you been before?
I was in a little pub in Caley and I'd done a couple of songs because my uncle, he does gigs and stuff like that, so I'd done a couple of songs there and he introduced me, and that was just last month. And I've been on the radio show in here, but apart from that, absolutely zilch.
Yeah, I've heard about that being
Yeah.
I've heard of being on the radio station as well. It must be good at least coming into a place you kind of know and stuff like that, you know.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Like, what did you like the most about like Radio Caley as a whole? Anyway, was there something that you really liked about it, or?
It's just really friendly. Like,
Yeah.
I really liked it the first time. It's dead relaxed and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
it's good.
absolutely. So you kind of also you kind of mentioned how you kind of got into music as well too. Like, kind of what attracted you to music in the first place anyway? Like, what kind of got you into it?
Well, I could sing before I could talk, and I could dance before I could walk, and like I've just always done it. Like there was no, like with me there was nothing else. Like this is what I was always gonna do. Like,
Yeah.
and then my mum and dad were always like 100% behind me, so it's dead easy. Like I just knew I went to like from theatre school to college to do musical theatre, and that's just it.
Yeah.
It's just second nature. Really.
So were you kind of doing the whole like singing in the shower then kind of idea then? Sing along to children's theme tunes?
Yeah, I just sing constantly, like
Oh, nice.
sing to people. I probably annoy all my friends, but
Well, they're your friends, they're allowed to be annoyed, let's go. So yeah, well, that's another thing you mentioned. I mean, so obviously you kind of chose to use that in acoustic music as well too, so like, what kind of like attracted you to acoustic music over like other kind of genres of music then? What kind of attracted you to that?
Well, I'm a big fan of Taylor Swift, like a massive fan. So like, I basically started listening to all her stuff and I was like, I like looked at her interviews and all that, and you're not going to get anywhere if you don't start writing your own stuff. I've wrote some of my own stuff, but nothing that I'm playing here today.
Oh, okay.
And I just I was like, I need to play something, I need to be able to do it, so I was like, right, let's do it. And then my uncle, like, I've got a lot of help of him because he's been in bands and stuff like that. He's got his own like recording studio and stuff, so it was just kind of the help with him, and then like already knowing how to sing and all that. I just was like, how did I get that?
Yeah, so you definitely have the kind of experience of everyone around you then and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, hey, awesome. And you're talking about songs you're also written yourself as well too. I mean, was it like early days of your music then? I take it then, or like
Totally. I've wrote 2 songs and I'm not 100% happy with either of them. So I'm not like, there's parts of them that I'm like, oh yeah, hit the nail on the head with it, and then there's other parts that I'm like, oh come on, like that needs to be better.
Yeah.
So I don't want to come on and sing something that's not 100% done.
Okay.
So like, there's no point in doing it.
Absolutely, yeah. 100%. You want to make sure your music's perfect, obviously,
Yeah,
because that'd
yeah.
be crap otherwise. But yeah, so like, I mean, obviously still early days, but like, what kind of like theme in music do you kind of like? What kind of themes in music that you tend to write about at this point? I mean, is it something that's diverging into like some sort of theme? If you know.
There's always like, it's always about me because like I love country music, and country music's always about your past experiences. Like it's, every song I've wrote, well the 2 songs I've wrote are about my past experiences, and it kind of like, one of them's kind of like about school, and then another one's kind of like, basically I came home one night and I was really angry at my ex and I wrote a song the next day, so it's like Taylor Swift, but yeah, that's it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I think that's how a lot of people kind of start off anyway. Just one angry ex. I interviewed the band the other day, but I was just like, yeah, my ex just da 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 da, and it was horrific. Anyway, but do you guys have any questions at this point, or anything you want to ask?
Sorry, just what age are you?
I'm 18.
18.
Ah, okay.
And the other question that came to my mind was, what would be like your ultimate goal musically? Like, what would be your ambition? What are you hoping to achieve? Is it musical theatre, or would you want to be a recording artist in the future? Like, what is your aim?
To be honest, I'm like, so like, I love musical theatre. I love like writing songs. I just love everything about it. So anything, like absolutely anything to do musically, I'd be happy with. I'd be happy with doing gigs for the rest of my life, just here, there and everywhere. If I made it, I'd be like, oh my god, this is amazing, but that's not my goal. like I just want to do what makes me happy kind of thing. So like that's it. Like anything, anything to do with it. If I'm offered a job in London, I'd take it. If I'm offered a job here, I'll take it. Like just anything.
Anything else you guys want to add on top of that yourself? No? Yeah, okay. Alright, sweet. Well, there's actually something I want to kind of follow from that as well. I mean, obviously you're doing theatrical stuff as well as this acoustic stuff as well. I mean, what kind of like, well, first of all, what are like the main differences then between being in like a large kind of theatrical group versus, you know, performing by yourself actually? Like, what's kind of differences there?
Well, when you're doing theatre, you're not yourself.
Yeah.
You're going on stage as a character, so like, I'm not being me. I'm being someone else kind of thing, and that's the whole difference on it, because there's the acting and the dancing behind it. So in a lot of ways it's more difficult, but like that's not saying that I don't love doing this, because it is a lot more difficult, and there's a lot more technique involved and like everything like that, whereas this is kind of more like you can walk in and actually just be you.
Okay.
But that's the main difference. You're not yourself ever when you're on that stage when you're doing a theatrical piece ever.
Okay, cool. Well, in that case, I mean, one thing before I go further than that, what I really should have kind of got across for, you know, mainly this is like, can you kind of describe some of the theatrical stuff that you've actually done beforehand? Before I should probably get that out of the way. Actually, yeah. Okay, just
well, I've done. Like I've been in pantos and I have like done like stuff with college, like we just done All Shook Up, we're now going to do Rain. Done stuff like that, but I've also like performed at Scottish Variety Awards twice. I don't know if you've heard of that. Yeah.
I met your cousin.
Yeah. Well, I've performed at them twice. And the first year we'd done a Proclaimers medley, which is on YouTube. And it was unbelievable. I got to meet Emily Sandy. And she performed that night as well and stuff. And then this year we done. Like it was just a kind of Scottish thing, and we all wore like big overalls, and it's always like tartan you wear as well. Yeah. And we got to meet Nina Nesbitt, and you know we got to interview loads of different people and stuff, like from like Des and Jenny, they presented us this year. Last year it was Romeo and stuff like that. So you know, I mean that's the most amazing thing I've ever done. Like,
yeah. And
then I've done stuff like performing at George Square, like at the Winterfest. Yeah. And just kind of the Deborah Ball as well. If you've ever heard of the Deborah Ball, it's like for charity. We've done a performance at that and stuff as well. So.
Okay. Yeah. So overall, very experienced in very large open areas. Then where probably lots of people were kind of seeing you and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah. That's okay. So like, is that kind of something that doesn't really intimidate you about this kind of environment? Then I mean, like, do you get that sense of like, you know, intimacy almost? Then like, is it something you quite like about it? Or?
There's always nerves. Like I mean, I've done so much. Like not so much. Like I've done a lot for my age, I'd say. But there's always going to be nerves. Like you're always going to be like, oh, and then see the fact of knowing people as well. Like see when it's going to sound weird, but see when you're on stage and you can't see anyone, so you're like, I'm fine. But see when it's intimate and like your friends are looking right at you and you're singing to them, that's more difficult because you can tell, oh my god, they're judging me, like, oh, they're thinking about everything I'm doing, like that's harder. And in front of your family as well, like see at Christmas when they're like that, oh, go up and sing. I'm just like, oh my god, they're going to like, oh, she got that note wrong and stuff like that. So believe it or not, it's harder in front of your peers and like family and stuff than it is on a big stage in front of hundreds of people.
I could imagine. So like you're literally all standing in front of them, like it's you versus them. At least you've got 20 people around you when it comes to theatrics, you know. I mean, have you ever been tempted though to like have you ever wanted to like bring in those theatrics though when you're trying to engage with the audience though? I mean, if you've already got such experience almost being that kind of different person, or are you the kind of person who likes to just be yourself when trying to engage with the audience? Like, which one would you prefer?
It depends what song I'm singing. A lot of the time, like stuff like this, like it's all about me. Like stuff that I'm doing today, it's all about me, like and how I interpret the song and stuff. But say I was singing a musical theatre song, I would act that out till there's no end, and like I would be that character. Like that's just the way I do it. Don't get me wrong, I use like acting techniques and like whereas I relate to like what I've done, but like that's just kind of it for too much. But yeah.